we like this idea of Dipper has this very like naive and forgivable but ultimately, you know, wrong idea about romance. He's got that first summer crush thing where he would die 1,000 deaths to have her feel the same way. And I think many people have an unrequited love. They know what that feeling is like. But in Dipper's mind, he has to convolute a perfect moment with her. He can't just let things happen.
Right.
And this idea that, oh, she likes Robbie and she got hit in the eye with this, like, in his mind, he needs to, I mean, it's sort of like Groundhog Day. He needs to
make the perfect day.
Make this perfect day because he's not perfect enough on his own. And for this reason, he does not deserve to get what he wants.
Yes.
Because his idea about the world and how it works should not be rewarded.
For this belated Valentine's Day special, we're going to do a storyline analysis for Gravity Falls that I think should help people who struggle with trying to find love nowadays. Even if it was a little overplayed, I really like the Dipper-Wendy crush arc in this show from the first season. It's actually one of the main reasons as to why Dipper's one of my favorite characters in the whole show. In fact, he is actually my favorite. And this show has a ton of lovable characters. Let's get started. Dipper wants to hang out with Wendy's dope-ass friends, one of which is exactly like how I was in high school, to gain their approval so that he can slide into her DMs. Unfortunately, he lies about being older than he is, shenanigans happen, and he has to come clean in order to save them from boomer ghosts by dressing up as a furry and dancing. It's really fucking funny, actually. This is to show that you shouldn't lie about yourself to look better than you actually are. Pretty basic. But the real good advice comes from the next episode of this arc. He creates clones of himself during a party at the Mystery Shack so that he can use his incredibly autistic social skills list to woo Wendy over because he doesn't know how to talk to her like a human being. Very relatable struggle. He's trying to force a scenario where she'll fall for him for life because he doesn't think that he alone is good enough for her. His self-consciousness causes him to stress out about the smaller possible things, so he tries to create a backup plan for everything until he bumps into her in the hallway and ends up talking to her. You know, like a normal person. The thing he said he couldn't do. Even though she does start flirting with her boyfriend TJ Miller at the end, even if he doesn't get what he wants in the end, he does learn that you should just be normal around people you like. Unfortunately, he has not fully unlearned the forced scenario issue just yet, but you know what I say? I say a loss is just a victory in the making. Every step is a step of progress. This is the part where the arc actually gets really interesting because the stakes get higher. Dipper steals a time machine from Justin Roiland and attempts to use save states to win a freaky animal stuffy for Wendy at a fair, but every time he fails, TJ Miller conveniently pops out of nowhere and asks her out like the douchebag that he is. Side note, I actually love the fact that he's just like always right there whenever she gets hit by Dipper's ball. No, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Oh no. Oh, forget about being injured. Wendy should file a restraining order against this tight jeans wearing ass. Anyway, the only way Dipper actually does get what he wants is by using Mabel's help, which then costs her winning her piggy. Then they have a fight that sends them all throughout time and space and actually reveals Ford before he was even a thing. And then Mabel eventually guilts him by bashing her head in to make him change his mind and let the original timeline play out. Now, a lot of people think that this is abusive on her part because she's making him give up his chance with Wendy for her, but, let me tell you something. He can't lose his chance if he never had one. As we'll discuss later, Wendy always loved him as a friend or little brother, but she never saw him as a potential boyfriend because with her age gap, that would be cancel culture worthy. Oh wait, she's a woman, never mind. So let's say, for the sake of argument, what if Dipper just ignored Mabel and decided to let the new timeline happen? Then what? Not only will he not get Wendy for the reasons that we just mentioned, but he also wouldn't have his twin sister, his best friend, in his life anymore. If anything, he actually doesn't lose anything from letting Wendy go because he wasn't getting anything in the first place. One more thing, I actually love... No, I don't love this, but I really fucking love how everyone uses Mabel as a toilet for the whole portal gag incident, even though Ford didn't tell her what it was, and for various other reasons that I've already discussed, but no one crucifies Dipper for potentially altering all of history just to get into the DMs of a girl much older than him. TJ Miller challenges Dipper to a fight after he accidentally breaks his phone on the hardest grass in the country, apparently, and Dipper enlists the help of a Ryu knockoff to scare him off. This is really funny, not only because Alex Hirsch clearly understands how to appeal to gamers, which is something that modern movies could learn a thing or two about, but it also is just because, like, TJ Miller is such a beta cuck that he's worried that a fucking 12-year-old is gonna steal his girlfriend who he's known since a while. Not much else to say here. Dipper learns to confront issues head on instead of hiding behind someone stronger. I mostly just want to point out that this episode helps establish that TJ Miller is actually a foil to Dipper. They're both super insecure, especially about Wendy, and are desperate for her approval, even if it means trying to force her to give them such. At least for now. Yeah, I actually think TJ Miller's a fucking dark reflection of Dipper, because Dipper's the whole thing is that he wants to cave to social pressure because he's trying desperately to prove that he's older than he actually is. TJ Miller also wants to do that because he's like the emo kid. A lot of people do that when they're teenagers. They want to do it to show how much cooler and edgier they are, and that's what he does. So he's basically like kind of the bad ending version of Dipper in the future. I'm pointing this out because I fucking love watching media and noticing like metaphorical like narrative foils and parallels to one another. It's just something my autistic brain fucking loves. This is arguably Dipper at his worst. Mabel and her friends want to go trick-or-treating in the Halloween special that they have in Gravity Falls because they love it so much. Halloween's so nice, they celebrate it twice. But Dipper tries to sneak away to join Wendy and TJ Miller at a party before a monster called the Summerween Trickster eats them all. This is actually one of the worst actions that he takes in his fruitless quest for Wendy's DMs because he almost gets his own sister, her friends, and Seuss, the most important one of them all, killed because he wants to prove that he's too old for Halloween. This episode parallels the final episodes, by the way, in case you didn't know. Through this journey, Dipper once again has to reevaluate what he wants and make up to Mabel, which he eventually ends up scoring more time with Wendy anyway. Once again, his so-called sacrifice actually got him what he wanted in the end. Somewhat. I'm just pointing that out because a lot of people seem to act like, oh, Dipper sacrifices his time with Wendy for Mabel, and it's like, again, he literally had no chance with her to begin with, so not much to say here. It's basically just more of the same for Dipper's side of the conflict, though Mr. Poolcheck is one of the funniest minor characters and he deserved a shout out. Alright, we finally reached the climax of our topic. Sure, Into the Bunker officially ended Dipper's Wendy crush, but this episode was the real point of no return for me. Dipper and Grunkle Stan search for proof that TJ Miller is brainwashing Robbie. Oh my god! The best way to describe the situation is to listen to this clip from Innuendo Studios on their Dr. Horrible video.
Billy befriends her at the exact moment she's no longer on the market and obsesses over defeating his arch nemesis in order to win her affections. Which is a totally dipshit thing to do, because if he could open his eyes for 5 seconds, he could see this relationship is going to last about a month at most, that Penny has genuine feelings for him, and if he could just sit tight, he'd probably get everything he wants, and even if not, she's still a positive addition to his life as a friend.
It doesn't end well, just to say the least. Though TJ Miller definitely got the worst end, Dipper didn't exactly get the good ending either in this episode. This was the final push that Dipper needed to realize that his mentality was wrong. He finally learns that you can't force someone to love you, but you can become someone worthy of love, which he helps teach Gideon in the finale. Dipper, Mabel, Seuss, and Wendy investigate a secret underground bunker to search for the author of the journals, and Mabel urges him to express his feelings for Wendy, though he has mostly moved on and just wants to remain as friends. Through some shenanigans involving Luke Skywalker, Dipper does end up confessing, and he and Wendy have a nice little talk about it. She expresses how flattered she is by this, but that she's too old for him, which is something that even Dipper acknowledged in the Double Clone episode. However, she does love him platonically enough that she would literally kill herself if they ever stop being friends. If you don't believe me, just listen.
I have more fun with you than, like, practically anybody else. And if you ever stop being my friend, I would, like, throw myself into the bottomless pit.
Even though things didn't go his way, Dipper's friendship with Wendy did grow stronger, and he learned how to become a better man. It was a bittersweet ending for him, though I think it was honestly just a good ending, whether or not he really believes it so. And then there's Roadside Attraction.